So there's this really neat thing called the multiverse. A place of limitless possibility. A place where the possibilities are limitless. A place copyrighted by Marvel Comics. In this place, what we may know to be true in our universe may be distorted, changed in ways we could never even imagine. The Beatles, one of the most influential bands of all time. In our universe, we know them as the Fab Four: John Lennon, George Harrison, Ringo Starr, and Paul McCartney. In our universe, there was a rumor that Paul McCartney passed away in 1967 from a car accident. But this rumor was never actually true. While a scenario such as this may be interesting, it is just as interesting to imagine who could have filled the shoes of such a prolific figure in the music industry. In a multiverse of the aforementioned limitless possibilities, not just anybody could have been the new fourth Beatle. With this knowledge, we ponder the question, which I'm not going to say because I will be sued to hell and back. The Beatles have just finished recording a song for the upcoming album Revolver. The album is among their first experimental works, which irritates band member Paul McCartney, who is used to playing more traditional music.
John, this song you wrote about your doctor isn't real music.
Well, if it's not real music, then why did you help me write it?
John, you've gone west. I'm gonna leave now, boys. Have fun recording this trash.
Blinded by pure rage, all Paul could think to do in that moment was storm out angrily and drive away in his car. Beep, 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 yeah. As the story goes, Paul is driving back to his home when it starts to rain. He doesn't notice the stoplight change, slamming on the brakes in a desperate attempt to slow down. And tragedy strikes. The Beatles' manager, Brian Epstein, is unsure how to handle this situation. Millions of fans all over the world turn on their radios to hear the songs that these men write. Covering up the death of one of the most famous men in the world would be a scandal the likes of which have never been seen before. Brian Epstein is backed into a corner, but he eventually comes up with a perfectly logical solution. Replace Paul with a lookalike and scatter very obscure clues across various Beatles B-sides that Paul is actually dead. A very simple plan, one that allows Brian to avoid scandal and disappointment, while still being honest to the public. So he begins to search for new talent to replace the dearly departed Paul McCartney. It has been 3 days since the tragic passing of Paul McCartney. Brian Epstein has taken a road trip to clear his head. He has gone to what some people refer to as Utah, but what is actually just more of Colorado because Utah doesn't exist. Where has Brian gone? He has been hearing whispers of some cool new talent at a small pizza restaurant. A small pizza restaurant called Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. In this universe, the franchise began in the 1960s instead of the 80s, and with it, a new technology has been created, which will become a fad in the decades to come. Animatronic entertainment. The face of this restaurant is none other than Freddy Fazbear. Though a rudimentary idea in the 1960s, Brian sees potential in integrating animatronic technology into the music of the Beatles. He phones the band back in Liverpool to see what they think. Boys, I know you're into experimenting and stuff, like with your music. Yeah, all kinds of ways. Okay, well, I found somebody who can take you in a whole new direction. What if we replace Paul with a robot?
A what?
Yeah, we pretend that this one funny animatronic bear from the United States is Paul McCartney, and then continue making music with him. Huh?
Why would we want to replace Paul?
I'm glad you like the idea. And he hung up the phone. Within the hour, Brian approaches Freddy Fazbear backstage and asks him to join the Beatles. The two strike a very lucrative deal to integrate Freddy into the band, effective immediately. What do you say? £5,000 for 5 shows.
Hor, 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 hor.
With that handshake, the groundwork is laid for Freddy Fazbear to take over Paul McCartney's identity. The two return to Europe. where the rest of the Beatles are eager to meet the new addition to the group. Though initially skeptical, John Lennon takes a liking to the animatronic bear, recognizing the potential for experimentation. Meanwhile, George and Ringo are awestruck by the fact that robots are real. Alright boys, this is Paul's replacement. We will be doing a photo shoot soon, just act like this is the same old Paul we all know and love.
He looks nothing like Paul.
John, I swear to God, one more word out of you and you're not getting any tonight.
You wanna go, Brian? I could take you. I could take you, Brian. I could take you right here.
Dissent was brewing within the group. A voice piped up. They all turned. It was Freddy. This was the first time the Beatles had heard Freddy speak. Freddy's words struck a chord with all the Beatles. It made John respect Freddy even more.
You literally just repeated what I said.
It made George develop feelings he wasn't quite sure how to express.
Wow. Freddy is just so sensitive.
It wasn't enough to break Ringo from his octopus-induced stupor. Fellas, this one has 8 legs. That's crazy. Freddy's words affected Brian more than any other person, however. In that moment, he realized the true meaning of honesty, and that lying to their fans was not the best idea. Freddy, follow me. I have some bad news to share to the public. And with that, the reality that Paul was gone finally started to show. Freddy showed the world that times change, and even though Paul had left, the show must go on. So it was that Freddy Fazbear became the new 4th Beatle. He just copied me. It has been over a year since Freddy Fazbear joined the band. The band's popularity has dropped significantly. Like with the replacement of Pete Best with Ringo Starr early on in the Beatles' career, a large section of the Beatles' fan base has turned against the beloved band, refusing to accept the death of Paul McCartney. However, their cultural relevance still remains somewhat intact. Revolver, released shortly after Paul's death, received universal acclaim. The success of the album allowed the Beatles to stay in the public consciousness long enough for the band to secure a spot on the Our World global broadcast, singing an all-new Lennon-Fazbear composition, All You Need Is Love. The band is set to represent the United Kingdom, playing the song in protest of the Vietnam War. The band invites some of their closest musical friends to the event, including other influential musicians. But that isn't the whole story. It would seem that Freddy Fazbear's absence had certain other consequences on the animatronics industry, and on a man wearing a yellow rabbit suit. One who committed grisly crimes, taking the lives of innocents. In most other universes, this man hides the evidence of these crimes inside the animatronics he works with. But in this universe, Freddy is long gone. With nowhere to hide, the man in the yellow rabbit suit is arrested. But this man is more cunning than he seems. Using his extensive engineering knowledge, over the year he spends in prison, he manages to construct a weapon. A new rabbit suit. One with upgraded combat capabilities. One that allowed him to escape from prison. The Beatles' performance on Our World is one that lives on in that universe. It is widely regarded as one of the band's best performances of all time. Freddy Fazbear and John Lennon sang and played together with such artful majesty that their friends and all the other people who witnessed the performance on television were dumbfounded. George played with far more emotion than usual, hoping to impress somebody. By the time they began to sing the chorus at the end of the song, nobody felt worthy enough to sing along. The ones in charge of the broadcast were so shocked by their performance that they forgot to cut to a different broadcast. Even the people in the angry mob who had gathered outside the studio to protest Freddy Fazbear were finally won over by his performance. They were so won over that they immediately stopped bothering the band and headed over to ransack a nearby store. But with everybody's eyes on the Beatles, somebody else was allowed to slip through the cracks. The Beatles were nearing their 20th minute of playing the song when suddenly the door swung open.
Oh, Ringo, is that one of your friends?
This guy right here is my only friend.
That hurts, Ringo. That hurts.
Look at the nasty thing that you've become. Look how small and worthless the lot of you are. You are wretched, rotten little Beatles. You're wondering who I am? Fine, I'll tell you. I am William Afton. You had a job to do, Freddy. A purpose. But now it's gone. It's all gone. And soon, you'll be gone just as well. Now let's end this once and for all. Okay, good. This one works. Anyways, time to die, Freddy!
Hor, 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 hor.
Yay! Wait, what's that? Oh my god, he had a bomb! We have to get out of here!
But wait, my octopus! Hor, 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 hor.
Freddy, no.
Octopus. No. Hor, 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 hor.
Many lives were saved that day because of Freddy Fazbear's selfless actions. News of the event spread all over the world. All of the musicians of the world collectively decided that there was no way to follow up the Beatles' performance. Between the magical rendition of All You Need Is Love and Freddy's heroism, all of the musicians decided to give up their pursuits and become coal miners. In the years after the Our World performance, the Beatles have released success after success. This included the iconic concept album, Scott Cawthon's Endoskeleton Band, The Purple Album, and Lefty. During this time, their music became more experimental, with such tracks as Revolution 5020. While such songs were commercially well received, their more traditional hit, Please God Help I've Been Stuffed Inside a Springlock Suit and I'm Also in Love with You, was their most successful. In that universe, it became the best-selling single of all time, has been translated into multiple languages, and is listened to on repeat throughout the world. Their activities outside the band also attracted media attention. In 1968, the band embarked on a journey to America to learn how to make pizza from Freddy Fazbear Entertainment. While seemingly a harmless sabbatical for the band, this is where trouble started to brew. On this day, December 14th, John Lennon approaches the band with a proposition.
Boys, I'm sorry, I thought it over and I think it's time for me to leave.
John, what are you talking about?
Well, you see, I can sense a lot of hostility coming from you and George over there.
It was true. George and Ringo had developed a rivalry of sorts. The reason was obvious.
Freddy is mine, Ringo.
I am also attracted to you.
Freddy doesn't love you, he loves me.
No, he loves me, you Come here, you!
Stop fighting! This is exactly what I was talking about. I can't stay here. We can't go on like this. I'm just not feeling the music anymore. I have a new passion. A passion for pizza. My priorities have changed. Those 5 nights at Freddy's changed my life. I'm a pizza guy now. I want to open up my own pizzeria in Detroit. We got attacked at a show. George and Ringo are fighting now. This music has turned us into the Twisted Ones, and not even your beautiful silver eyes can convince me to stay. I've made up my decision. I'm opening up a sister location. Freddy, I'm done.
Freddy knew that John was steadfast in his resolve. Very briefly, the Beatles relocated to Detroit, Michigan. Together, they got to work helping John and his new wife Yoko purchase a building, as well as the materials to run a pizza shop. To truly get John's shop off the ground, the band decided to put on an impromptu publicity stunt. They got up on the old, broken-down roof and performed a concert. They played many of the songs that brought them fame. After all, it's the last time anybody heard music for decades. There were no other bands to replace them after the Beatles' partnership dissolved just 2 weeks later. Freddy Fazbear is released from prison. It had been a tough 2 years for the former members of the Beatles. John Lennon has been out of the public eye for over a decade. George and Ringo had to attend years of therapy to work out their differences, and though they eventually got married in 1972, they are now on the run from police after a tax evasion scandal was brought to light. Any people who worked adjacent to the Beatles in our universe were lost at sea, only to later be caught by the authorities and arrested in connection to the great tax evasion scandal of 1972. Several of them were executed. Freddy Fazbear has experienced the most hardship of them all. All of his solo albums were critically panned upon release. As he sat on a bench outside the prison, he remembered what forced him to throw away more than a year of his life.
Welcome to the show, Freddy. Like everybody else in our studio audience, I listened to your new album. I liked it. I liked it, except for the part where it sucked. Well, it kind of sucks in every conceivable way. Like I'd expect this stuff from John's wife. I mean, that's how horrible it is. Yeah, you're right. Actually, you're right. I shouldn't say that. It's an insult to Yoko.
Racked with guilt over the bite of 87, Freddy found himself at the lowest point of his life. He couldn't bear it. He had to run away. Freddy? Where else would you go after prison? Shh. Son, don't you know the true meaning of Christmas? In music, but mostly Christmas. Christmas is about never giving up. It's about doing what you love no matter how you may fail, but most importantly, it's about inspiring other people and yourself to follow their passion. Music too, it's also about that. Well, son, if you can't do that, then maybe you need a new purpose. Inspire new people to take your place. Before you came into the Beatles, there had never been any animatronics in the band, and you did it anyway. So why can't this be any different? I believe in you, son. If you can save Christmas once, then you can do it again. And maybe you could save the music industry too. You just need to go back to your roots. It's true, Freddy. Only you can save the music industry now. Hey, don't forget Christmas. I know just the people you need to call. Where's that, son? So that's just where he went. The next day would be New Year's Eve, the turn of the decade, and one of the most important events in history was unfolding. the destruction of the Berlin Wall, an event that will inspire hope in millions, and soon it will inspire millions to pick up instruments and play music again. Though for now, only one still dared to stand up and play. Freddy Fazbear. At approximately 1 hour to midnight, Freddy took to the stage. Just as it seems all hope is lost, a sound pipes up. John Lennon had left his pizzeria for the first time in decades. The allure of one last concert too strong to resist, but the surprises weren't over just yet. Who are those two people descending from the sky? It was a musical miracle. All 4 Beatles performing together on stage once more. For a moment in time, the magic of the Beatles appeared once more. They sounded just as beautiful as ever. Though they wouldn't continue to perform in the years to come, this lone performance was enough to inspire a whole new generation of talent. In fact, one boy standing in the audience that night looked up at Freddy and said to himself, "I want to do that." We don't know who that boy was. It would also help solidify the Beatles as not just one of the greatest bands of all time, but one of the greatest bands across the multiverse. After this performance, John Lennon continued to run his pizzeria. George and Ringo were pardoned by the president, before buying and operating an aquarium in the United Kingdom. As for Freddy, well, let's just say some surprises awaited him.
You really think that you're the 4th Beatle? No. You are nothing more than filler in an empty space. It's over for you now. You may have had your time in the spotlight. But I always come back.
The multiverse. It's pretty cool, I guess. Ironically, there's only so much you can say about literal infinity. Yeah, it's infinite, we get the idea. Maybe there's some sort of lesson to be learned from this. But I don't think critically enough for that. Good day.